The funny world of programming. There used to be just two kinds of hackers, the beautiful and the scary. But there is many kinds now. Most are not really worth mentioning. The mightiest hacker is always the programmer, though. They are looking at security top-down, whereas plain hackers look at it blind up. If we just had one paragraph to describe what the hackers want, I'd say privilege escalation. To put it simply, they want to get to the next level. No matter how you look at it, though, it is all about having fun. And actually, not having fun is the hardest thing to achieve, both in the worlds of programming and hacking. Allow me to explain. Internet is old, made for old computers, which is actually good news. It's great because it means stuff runs super fast on new computers. But old also means limited. Wise, but limited. Let us examine the HTTP protocol that you use every day and everywhere. It is often called a stateless protocol, but what that actually means is that a server has no memory for you, and thus no memory of you. But no single server is ever expected to handle all the requests you are making. So you see, because they have no memory for you and of you, you can have 50 servers in different parts of the world. And it simply does not matter which one will handle your request, since they have no memory. They are all equal and equally unaware of who you are. So you see, it's old but cool. It's wise and lightweight. It's good. It is amazing for the internet, and quite audacious and even rebellious, really. Heck, you can even serve your website from a cardboard box of old scratched up phones or used up single board computers that don't even blink their LEDs anymore. Your hardware can be so old that it may not even have any decent LEDs. So this is already pretty funny, because the mighty HTTP is almost Nixie tube ancient. It is primitive. This technology driving all this advancement and social network and all this nonsense is actually super primitive and old. But it gets funnier, because the login feature of a website demands memory. It's gotta remember you somehow. It has to remember that you have logged in, or it will just keep asking your username and password every time you click something. This is where cookies come in. Your browser remembers the data for the server. And then each time you make a new request for a page or an image, it sends all that data along with it. It serves as memory for the server. What this means is that all your login information is in your browser. What this means in context of hacking is that you can forge, manipulate, and alter requests made to a server. You have the memory in your hands. You can send whatever memories you want. A hacker can tell the server that they are somebody else, anybody. They are, after all, sending the memory for the server. Is that crazy or what? Can you imagine? The hackers actually have the server memory in their hands. You see how funny that is? Because HTTP servers are so primitive and super fast, we have to send memory or state. And in that memory is our login information, so a hacker can manipulate that state. And it is all just user equals Bob, or account ID equals 5. When your username and password pass the test on the server will give you the thing that it can remember you by, so that your browser can send it in next time you make a request. Without it, the server will not know who you are. This is the really funny part. Hacking HTTP servers or websites that have no memory is the natural state of things. The more mature hackers actually take several weeks to study a website. They have a list of items that takes them weeks to check. And the first item is, what is the server sending back after I log in? And if it is account ID equals 5, what happens when I change it to account ID equals 1? It's in their browser. They can change anything in the memory they want. And this often results in gaining administrative privileges because the first account added to a system is usually the administrator. ID equals 1. When you hear about data leaks or data breaches, this technique is still sometimes responsible for a tiny number of them. It still happens. So as a programmer, you can't just program like a normal person. You are not allowed to write rational, readable, simple code. It has to be a maze, a twisted upside down primitive wooden machine that by its very design makes some things impossible. So, upon authentication, you can't reply to a browser with an account ID because the browser cannot be trusted. Hackers will start changing all that information and get at other users' private data. So let's say there is a man with a very long checklist. Let's call him Mallory. Tasked with back engineering our very thinking when we programmed the login system. He wants to know who we are, how we do we have class, or just a diploma? So he signs up to our website, doesn't even bother at looking at the HTTP data here, and then he signs in. And now Mallory looks at the server response. The memory that he has now put in charge. How unbelievable! But it's gotta be done. The HTTP server is too primitive. There is no memory for all the different users. It's got to go into a cookie that Mallory can tamper with. It's gonna be a cookie because browsers automatically keep track of those and always send them back to the server. So cookies are meant for just that. They are extremely convenient and programmer friendly. If Mallory sees account ID, then he goes to lunch because he will have an intern poke at it and see if this is a setup or not. If Mallory sees username, then he knows he's being baited and can infer that there are active countermeasures in place. But that also means all the programming is defensive with him in mind. And defensive coding is complex coding. It's got little tiny fissures where bugs can potentially sneak in. Complexity always enlarges the attack surface. The only thing we can send back in this situation is a huge random number, meaning that if he changes it to something else, there is just no way that this new number will be valid. In fact, it would take hundreds or maybe thousands of years to guess a valid number here. It's so big. And we must never send in an actual account number. Oh, no. The account numbers are precious information that can absolutely be used elsewhere. We need to create a temporary session ID that will expire in 4 or 8 hours and send that to Mallory. This ID will be useless when he resumes his work the next day or even returns from lunch. Here we need to set up a new server, but this is not going to be an HTTP server. We are actually going to create memory now. This will be a database server. So all our HTTP servers will now gain the ability to remember things. But, it will be beefier hardware. It will be costly. And now, with each successful login, we will generate a new session ID and save that in the database connected to the user and keep it there until its expiration. So our 50 HTTP servers around the world now have to connect to a much beefier database server. Again, it is more complexity. Mallory will infer that there is a database server because we must keep those session IDs somewhere near the user account. And this is his work. This is his doing. He forced us to enlarge our attack surface. But we did protect the account number by sending him just a temporary and thus soon to be useless session ID. Mallory is not alone. He is part of a large team of retired programmers who put together a penetration testing company. The people in the cubicles around him are completely out of control. They do not have anything in common. You can't call them geniuses, you can't call them brilliant or gifted. They do not belong to any group. They don't dress the same. They don't really care about their fancy cars. They have never watched TV. Most of them will never touch beer and never give up coffee. Most of them had super crappy grades because they never dared to even consider cramming for a test in college, as this would waste their time. They were aware that time is precious and can only be committed towards authentic and beautiful things. There is no way in hell that Mallory will fail to break into your system. In fact, the elevator problems you had last week at the office, that was a setup. It was staged. The office has keyloggers. There are new devices that are plugged into your network. All the keys everywhere have been copied. It's all done. It's been hacked days ago. But Mallory's job is to find most of the vulnerabilities. So the big ones are still on the to-do list. The point is, of course, enhancing security. So you don't want to finish the test early right after you got into the system through the elevators. You want to keep going and start finding all the big holes so that when the company goes online, it doesn't get instantly hacked. That's why the list of items that they have to go through is so long. That's why it takes weeks. They have to check everything, or at least most of the obvious things. Now, please don't be scared. This doesn't mean that there's something wrong with programming, that you're always going to get hacked. And if you create a website with your own custom content management system without considering Mallory, then yes, you will get hacked, but you shouldn't be creating your own content management system. You should work with one that has already been tested by professionals, that has already gone through a round of security issues and they have been patched. So it's okay. There's software out there that you can use and you can customize it. None of this means that programming is hard or bad. It just means that you aren't just writing programs. In fact, you are wrapping your programs in active countermeasures in hopes of defeating Mallory. You have to check for cookie tampering. Check if someone changed a session ID to something never used before. You have to wrap your program features in access control systems, where you always check if a user has a permission to execute some particular function of your code. The final and the funniest thing for this text is that you do not have the ability to block Mallory at all. You can't. He never uses his real IP address. He may not even use the same IP address or browser signature twice. There is no way to block his hacking attempts at all. And in a real-world scenario, your website will be exposed to tens of thousands of automated bots scanning for different vulnerabilities and, yes, the common errors that programmers make. And those scans cannot be stopped by your hosting company. They can't block Mallory either. Don't be scared of this. Embrace it as a beautiful challenge. There are no jobs more exciting than programming. None. There are no sports, no computer games, no game of chess could ever compare. Never. There's only one thing you can do here. And in fact, you cannot stop yourself from doing it. You must write a honeypot, a website specifically designed to trap bots and hackers, so that you can learn what they are up to and how to defeat them in a game unlike any other. This is not meant to be scary. This is an invitation. Welcome to the world of programming. It will be fun and pretty funny too.